Chris, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
It's a couple of questions. Obviously, been working together and we've done some stuff together over the years. And something I've noticed, which you've managed to do really well, is build wealth through property.
Yeah.
Can you give some people some tips that would be starting off or have a couple of properties, and what would you advise them to do?
Well, first of all, before buying property, you need to know your spending habits. You need to become a conscious saver.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't use saver, you need to become an investor. But before you become an investor, you need to save your money.
Yep.
So getting into the market, you need to understand where you can save money. So the best way I say, and I read this from a book called Richest Man in Babylon, pay yourself first. So no matter what you earn, you can save a little bit of that. Whether that be 5%, if you're a very good saver, go 10, 15 and 20%. By saving the right amount of money, you can get into the property market. And as we've seen in the past, I was in the property market now since I was 19. I was fortunate to get into the property market when the market was going up.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to duplicate that process much quicker and much easier. Now, as we know, market conditions every 7 to 10 years, they go up, they go down, they go sideways, they don't always fly up.
Yep.
So depending on when you're getting into the market, you need to be a lot more mindful of how much debt you get into as well. So not over leveraging is key to buying your second, third and fourth property. So traditionally what people do when they buy real estate is, I'm on $100,000 a year, I walk to the bank, I've got a deposit, what can I borrow? They say you can borrow $700,000.
Right.
So they go to their local agent, show me a property for $700,000.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're doing it the wrong way around.
So you reckon take less and save some for later?
100% buy something that's affordable, because you've got to remember, when you're buying property, you're waiting for it to grow so you can build equity.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're buying property you can afford, you're also paying it off. So you're building equity twice as fast. As you're paying off the debt and it's increasing in value, your equity is building quicker, which means it's also safer. Because the lower the LVR is, the safer it is for you as an investor, which means you can go again. So when I was 19 and I bought my first property, using that same principle, I bought 8 properties by the age of 24.
Right.
But having said that, I had 2 things going for me. I had a very good income and I had a very, very good market conditions.
Exactly.
Now, if you don't have good market conditions, you can still do it. You just might not do it as fast.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes a bit of sense. And what would you? I mean, people that are looking to get their first home. I mean, people say times have changed and houses are, they're much more expensive than what they were, and wages haven't really increased. Where should people be rent investing, or should people be buying where they want to live?
That's a great question. As you know, I'm a rent investor now, and I have been we own multiple properties, and the property prices have gone up. So
and you rent your place?
I'm currently renting now, and I have been 24 years. I've owned 2 properties for a short period of time, which I lived in. The rest are rent investing.
Sure.
And I own over 20 properties, as you know, but I rent them out. So back in the day, you could 4 times average income was a house price. Now it's 7.4 of an average income. An average income, 87,000.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's a lot more expensive to get into the market, but there's a lot more favourable conditions. We're at the lowest interest rates we've ever been, 0.1% the capital reserve rate. So we should be using our money and making sure that we're lending as much as we can and leveraging, not to the hilt, but as much as we can afford to buy real estate.
And what would that be from a percentage, from an LVR point? Do you want to have 20%? Can you go up to 90? Or 80 to 90? Or is that not how you're working it out?
That's a great question, but it depends on your income, depends on your net disposable income.
Right.
So 80% is good because you don't pay lender's mortgage insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So you save that premium. But it's okay if you pay when you're investing, because you can capitalize it and claim it.
Yep.
But the lower your LVR, the safer it is for you.
Mm-hmm.
So until you know what you're doing, don't go on a 95% or 100%, or they don't do 100 anymore, they used to.
Yep.
Low doc loans, 100% loans, 90% with LMI. Go to 80, but it means you need a high deposit and you need to pay setup costs. Or speak to a professional, like yourself, like what we do. Go someone that can actually assist you to navigate through investing, because there's so many things you need to consider before you invest. A lot of people go, I can do this on my own. You can do a lot of things on your own.
Exactly.
So will you do it as effective? Will you be as efficient with what you're lending, with where you're buying? Are you worked your safety nets in place? Have you got an 8% vacancy rate? What interest rates are you using? All these factors are very important. So when you buy your first investment, so a good tip for everyone out there is make sure you're buying the right property, your first one. It's the most important, because it's a stepping stone to your second, third, fourth and fifth. I went to many seminars, as you know, I love reading and learning. And I'd find people in 10 years they've bought 2 properties, and other people have bought 6 with the same sort of incomes. And I always used to say to myself, I wonder why that is. They bought the right properties that they could afford. Yep. They got the right advice. They never over leveraged. So when it comes to real estate, it's so important to not over leverage, to understand what you're doing. If you can afford 700,000, borrow 500. If you can afford $100 a week, your repayment should be less, and still pay $100 a week because you're going to build equity faster.
Yep.
And that's why it's paramount. Speak to an expert that knows what they're doing, that has a proven track record, that's been doing this for years, that's helping people, that's up to date with legislation, that's up to date with, APRA.
APRA rates and
Of course.
Also where to buy and what to look for. A lot of people are saying right now, especially clients of ours, is now a good time to buy with what's coming on in March with the JobKeeper going. It's still that sort of weary time, Q1 next year.
Yep.
What do you think is going to happen? I mean, if you look at Sydney and the rest of the country, what do you think will happen in Victoria in the housing market?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious what's going to happen, but I always ask the same thing. Regardless of where the market conditions is, are people still going to pay tax?
Yes.
Are they still need to retire financially?
Yes.
They still need to invest.
Yep.
So where's the market going to be? Certain segments will be inflated, certain segments are still going to grow.
Mm-hmm.
It's supply and demand, it's basic economics.
Yep.
What we sell and what you sell is affordable.
Yep.
400,000 to 700,000. Mums and dads, families are renting these properties, so there's a very high demand for them.
Yep.
They're still having very strong valuations and people are still getting into the market. And I ask this question, when's the right time to buy real estate?
Yesterday.
Yesterday, always, and that's the right answer.
Yep.
I don't care where the market is, because if you're an investor, you're there for the long haul. If you're a speculator, whether it's shares, whether it's business, whether it's property, you're trying to spike and predict the market.
Correct. Yep.
We're not Nostradamus. No one can predict the market exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Warren Buffett, buy, hold, you're going to make money. If you predict the market, you've got to consider setup costs. You've got to consider capital gains. Now, you're still going to pay capital gains, but if it's in the first 12 months, it's maximum capital gains as opposed to 50%. These are all the things that you know when you advise your clients, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to buy a property, as long as you can afford it, you're always going to be okay. Don't over leverage. When's the right time? The right time's yesterday, always, categorically. Because what if the property market continues to grow? And while we're selling, it is.
Yep.
You're going to miss the opportunity. And one thing that's guaranteed going to happen, time's going to keep going on. You're going to get older, aren't you?
Exactly.
And you're closer to retirement. Can you afford to wait? That's what I tell people.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, if time's on your side, I mean, you can get through the different cycles. Is there a time that you can remember in the last sort of 10 to 15 years where the market got ahead of itself, or you thought got spiked?
Look, you look at back when I started in real estate, and I use a couple of examples, as you mentioned cycles. So cycles go every 7 to 10 years. Is there a GFC? Is there a major economic event? In this case, is there a pandemic? And you look at the cycles, even if you bought at the peak of the previous market, whether it be 10 years ago, 5, when the interest rates were 18%, would you have made money? 300%.
Absolutely. Yep.
If you could afford to maintain the property.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're buying the right property and you're not over leveraging, and right now, though, the rates being so low, they're all neutral to positively geared.
Mm-hmm.
So you can chip away at it.
Yep.
Of course you're going to make money. And you're buying in the right areas that value strong.
Yep.
I'll argue the point to anyone that you will still make money if you're buying the right properties. Now, if you're buying a property that has a lower rental yield, will you make money if you can't afford to lose your job? Maybe not.
Yep.
That's why you need to speak to someone that actually knows what they're doing.
Yep.
So obviously now with the market condition, Mick, you've been in real estate for quite a number of years now. I know you've dealt with hundreds of clients. What do you think is happening to the market, and what are you seeing with your clients?
Well, there's two different people really, and you can only advise people, tell them certain things, but some people just can't proceed in a market where they don't have certainty. Yep. Some people would rather just buy at the top of the market because it makes them feel more comfortable, which is fine.
Interesting. Yep.
But some people can see an opportunity. So those people that can see the opportunity are very open to looking at options. And yeah, it's going to be cautious in this time that you put the cards in front of people, and if they want to play, they can. But if they don't, they can wait till March passes and we know what's going on with the job.
So basically, you're saying you give them all the information to make an informed decision based on the current climate.
Yeah.
But it's interesting what you say about some people don't understand all the information of the market. So your job's just to inform them, really, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. I mean, you can only. It's probably more to challenge people to look at things with an open mind and to see what we do. It's not debt. It's good debt. You know,
Big
we're not telling
difference.
people to buy a boat or a car
Or go on holiday.
or go on a holiday, you know. But you're buying something which is going to give you tax relief, going to be positive to neutrally geared, and, you know, over the next 10 to 15 years, with a long-term view, it'll grow. So I always see the opportunity as now. I mean, me personally, if I can find a way to buy and to leverage myself up, not too high, but to keep investing, I will. As long as that property's bringing in, it's got an income tag to it, that's all that really matters.
You mentioned JobKeeper and JobSeeker and the market conditions, but as I said, it comes down to over leveraging, and people are looking at all those things. So we're not going to be advising our clients to get into debt that they can't afford or manage, and we're also going to talk to them about their job security, what they can afford, their net disposable income. So all those things make it, but it all starts with the conversation, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, exactly. I think something that you've done really well, and you've passed the messages on to me, is money management. We tell people you've got option one is, you know, investment structure, you know, get your tax working for you, get your money working for you. You might cost you $30 to $100 a week. I mean, that's pretty easy. I think what the biggest challenge is how do we save $200 a week with people who are on 180 grand plus a year, and they have no idea how to manage their household money. You know, can you provide some tips for people like that they see it and they spend it?
I can too. Look, it comes down to the key thing, and budget sounds like a boring, ugly word, and in some cases it is.
Yep.
But it's conscious spending. I'm not an advocate of save all your money and don't do things you enjoy. You know me very well, I do things I enjoy.
Yep.
But I want to understand exactly what I'm doing, because every dollar saved is like $3 earned.
You say saved or invested, or both?
Well, saved, because when you save it, what do? You need to invest it.
Exactly.
But if you save $1, you need to pay a mortgage. In most cases, you need to pay tax. So you need to earn $3 to be able to save a dollar.
Yep.
Now, if you save that dollar and you leverage it, as Einstein said, the eighth wonder of the world's compounding interest, those who understand it earn it, those who don't pay it. The banks do that against us in reverse. They give us 30-year mortgages.
Yep.
We need to understand how to pay off debt. So we need to understand how to save money. So I'm not saying don't do things you enjoy. I love doing things I enjoy. But there's one golden rule. I invest first.
Mm-hmm.
Invest your money, have it working for you, do things you enjoy. But if you go to 5 restaurants a month, maybe go to 3, maybe go to 4. Save that money and really build some wealth, because everything compounds. And you mentioned age as well. No matter how long you've got, I've been preparing for my retirement since I was 19. For 2 years now. There's no wrong time to start planning.
10 years.
Yeah, right. There's no wrong time to start investing. There's no wrong time to do the right thing. Start investing now. And why I love companies like yourself and what we do is we advise clients and we show them what they need to do. No, we don't tell them, hey, you've got to buy this property no matter what. We give them as you said, here's the cards. If you want to play, play.
Yep.
But it's our job to educate the clients. Now, why don't people proceed in most cases with any investment? It's fear. But the riskiest strategy anyone can ever employ is no strategy, because you're 100% going to end up with zero.
Yep.
If you employ no strategy, that's risky. So
What do you think people, I mean, everybody spends money differently.
Of course.
But your typical middle class Australian, I mean, if there even is a middle class anymore, what are they going to
That's a
need?
good point.
If they're 40 or 45, 50, what do you think they're going to need per year to retire?
An average Australian needs 1.2 million in retirement, so 2.4 for a couple, but it's depending on, I myself am overseas, I like to travel, I might need more money, I might have a different level of lifestyle.
Yep.
But you need, for the basic essentials, you'll need at least $1 million per person,
Yep.
which sounds like a lot of money, which it is if you don't start saving for it, but even if your house is paid off, when you're working now 40, 50, 60 hours a week,
you're going to live somewhere.
but you're working now 40, 50, 60 hours a week, if I gave you that time, what are you going to do? If you had an extra 50 hours a week, what would you do?
I'd probably keep working.
But you'd spend more money if you never had that?
Yeah, definitely.
So when you retire, now, you're actually going to need more money. Because imagine if you didn't go to work every day.
Yep.
So people, when they think about their retirement, and you're not going to work, now I work a lot of hours, but if I didn't work...
Helps you stop spending money.
Yeah, but you're going to need more. And also in retirement, you're going to have a good lifestyle. So planning for tomorrow should start today. So you plant the seed where you want to sit in 10, 20 years under the shade of a tree. You don't, hey, I'm 55, I'm 60, let's start planning for retirement.
Yep.
I'm not saying if you're 55 or 60, you can't retire.
Yeah.
But when's the right time to plan? Start straight away. Start with the conversation. And if people aren't in a position to invest or save,
Yep.
you're in a position to have a conversation, aren't you? To see how much you can save, where you can make some savings When you save, then you start investing. It's very simple. I don't have any money. Buy a book, get educated, go speak to someone.
Yep.
Doesn't have to
There's
be.
always a starting block. There's
that's the best
levels
point.
and a ladder, and you want to get and start working your way up that ladder.
And that's the best point. Like even with yourself, like you've surrounded yourself with very good people. It all starts with a conversation. It all starts, what do you think? So when people are telling you, give us some good tips, and you've seen many people that you've advised, what do you tell them?
It depends on who they are. Really, it depends on where they are in their journey. But if someone's starting off, it'd be education and networking.
Yep.
You know, and you go from there, because some people don't have the disposable income to even service a property. So,
well, they don't know they do.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, people just spend.
Well, yeah. Well, how do I get myself into that income producing job to start buying assets?
Yeah.
That's where we need to start. Someone might have 2 or 3 properties, but that doesn't make them smart. You know, I think just knowing what your end game is, and my end game shifts every year.
Which it should.
Yeah, what I think I originally wanted is completely changed.
You evolve, you grow.
Yeah, I'm
like
sure
Christofi says it a lot too. He goes, it's financials. There's intelligence and there's balance sheets.
Yeah.
People that understand their finances understand balance sheets. Because when you go to a bank, they don't say to you, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" They say, "Show me your balance sheet." That's your financial report card.
It's a scorecard.
100%, and it also shows you what you can and can't do. So, I think with everyone, the best thing is go speak to someone that's actually actively doing it themselves.
Yep.
And advising people to do it. So when you said some good tips, speak to the right professionals.
Yep.
People that are, and it's hard to say, usually people speak to family and friends, uninformed family and friends that don't have wealth, that haven't bought property, that haven't invested. Now they want what's best for you, but can they help you? Can they assist you? Can they guide you? Probably not. Someone that's out there that's helped hundreds of clients, that's got multiple properties, that understands legislation, understands license, can he help and guide you? Well, he can probably write you a blueprint because he's done it over and over.
On that question,
Yes.
a lot of people are skeptical.
Yep.
Not a lot. Some people are skeptical.
Always been the case, yeah.
You know, with Royal Commission and ASIC and financial planners and this space. I mean, and the Labor government has come out and said that only 10% of Australians need a financial planner. What's your response to that?
I think it's absolute rubbish. I think everyone needs good financial education and good advice. And furthermore to that, I would want someone good advising you. Now, is there financial planners that aren't great, brokers that aren't great? In any industry where there's money, there's going to be people that aren't doing the 100% right thing by the clients.
Yep.
There's all other good things with people. All brokers aren't created equal, all financial planners aren't created equal. But someone that can build your wealth that's up to date now.
How does your average punter find these people? They're in an area, they don't have a good network.
Okay, it's very simple, Michael. It's with a proven track record.
Yep.
Good companies that haven't just popped up in a day, they've been there for years.
Mm-hmm.
They have the right information. How do you have the right information? They've helped hundreds or thousands of clients.
Yep.
They're licensed. And more importantly, they live and breathe what they do. I'm not going to go to a broke financial planner and teach them how to make money. I'm not going to go to a gym goes 150 kilos overweight. Hey, can you train me how to be fit?
Yep.
But if I know that he does and he lives and breathes it, he talks about nutrition, he looks fantastic, his clients look fantastic, he probably knows about what he's doing. The same principle applies with real estate, with wealth creation. That's all I've done. My mentors are the people that have coached me and helped me. Everything that I do, they've got a proven track record.
I think that's important as well, because a lot of financial planners, unlike yourself or what we do, aren't keeping up to date with what's going on. You speak about a personal trainer, when the personal trainer might have been Mr. Olympia in 1992, but right now he's overweight and he's not looking after his health. It's the same thing I'm noticing with people that have been seeing their fathers or their grandfather's local accountant for tax advice, and he hasn't upskilled at all in the last 20 to 30 years.
Generation shoppers, they call them.
Yeah.
They're used at the bank. Now it's very dangerous. So it's a very dangerous game to play wrong advice. So when you go to the wrong people, it's a slippery slope. And I've seen it many times.
Yep.
Being in real estate for almost 23 years, I've seen it many, many times. The wrong advice is dangerous. But not doing anything, no action, is the riskiest strategy people employ. And I've seen it all. I should have done something years ago. Oh, it's too late for me. It's never too late to have a conversation, ever.
Yep. Something, I mean, we can add this one in actually, because I think this will be a pretty relevant question. Something that I'm noticing at the moment is, I mean, in my particular age group, I'm 30, but a lot of my friends in
millennial.
Yeah, in millennial, early 30s, we want everything now. I mean, everything I've done has sort of been the long way around, and I've built a property portfolio. But it's explaining to people, say you've got two professionals out of uni, they're making 150,000 as a couple. They live in metropolitan Melbourne. All they know is Melbourne. They want to live in, within 15-kilometre radius of the city.
Yep.
But to buy a house, you're looking at 1.3 to 1.6 minimum.
Yep.
And it's old property. I mean, what would you suggest that person do?
I'll use my example. Yep.
Because when you explain house and land, regional Vic, look at pockets of Queensland, they're not interested.
Okay, let's look at it differently. We used to show real estate people, I don't want to go anywhere near there. Caroline Springs is an example. Look what's happened there. Schools, shopping centres, arterials. We use the example of high population, infrastructure and employment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, going back to, let's use me as an example. I live in a very nice apartment. I could buy that if I wanted. Let's say you lived in a $2 million apartment and you could buy it outright or put a $1 million deposit. I have to pay rates. I have to pay body corporates.
Yep.
And I'm getting 2% of the value of that property. What if I grabbed that $1 million and I bought 4 properties at 500, still 2 million, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Renting at 5% each with maximum tax deductions in a better growth area.
Yep.
There is no doubt it's much better strategy to build your wealth. I'm not telling you not to buy your own home. Some people have an emotional attachment to it. But like I said with your spending,
what about when
understand
people
why.
say there's no tax on your principal?
That's why you shouldn't do it. That's why you should, or no, actually I shouldn't take that back. That's why I should consider doing it. For me, I'll buy my principal appraisal residence and I can buy it outright.
Yep.
And then I can use that money and leverage it,
Yep.
and I can claim it. So when people say have 100% tax efficient debt rent investing, you should invest where it makes commercial sense and live where you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Hence the term rent vesting. But if you've got the other professional, which is kind of like me, that can afford to still buy here, why do I rent vest? It's just a smarter way to build your wealth.
So the young millennial, in short,
Yes.
should be looking at alternatives. Rent vesting is, in short, is what you're getting at.
100%. Like as I said, I was reinvesting before the term was reinvesting, before it was popular,
Yep.
because it made commercial sense. Yeah, let me give you a few numbers. There was a house I wanted to live in Taylor's Lakes, $260,000 it would have cost me. I could have rented that property for $190 a week. I opted to buy a house in New South Wales Tweed for $183. $260, $183, my debt's a lot less, yeah? Renting for $220, paying rent of $190.
Yep.
I could use this rent to pay that, couldn't I? And I was saving $6,000 a year in tax. Now, by the way, 6 years later when I sold it for $328. It grew much more than the Taylor's Lakes house.
Yep.
Had maximum tax benefits and a high rental yield.
Mm-hmm. And capital growth.
100%. But I lived where I wanted to. Some people are emotionally attached to living their own home. I don't have that need.
Or they're just not educated on knowing that there's other places.
That's
This
probably
sort
a
of
better
explains to
point
people, they just don't know that there's places that make more money.
Or alternatives.
Yep.
But when you said people are closed-minded to it, it comes down to what you said, it's the education around it. But if you're asking me 2 questions, is rent vesting correctly 100% better way to build wealth? Unequivocally.
Yep.
It's definitely. And you've heard the term rent money is dead money. Not if you invest.
Yep.
So I always say rent money is not dead money, it's smart money.
Yep.
If
And you can
invest.
leverage off that to build more wealth.
That's how I built 8 properties, doing that strategy.
Yep.
Now I could have bought the house in Taylor's Lakes, 260, chipped away at it. By the way, just for my sake, just for my knowledge, I checked what it was worth when I sold mine at 328. Do you know what it was worth in 260? Very close to the value of my property. So 183 to 260, they grew. This grew so much more.
Yep.
Because I bought it in a targeted area, New South Wales Tweed, 3-bedroom townhouse.
Much
And
smarter.
how? Well, I was smarter, but I was lucky too because I spoke to the right people. I started building my knowledge at 19. I happened to go to the right person to get that information. So I was fortunate in that sense.
Yep.
And speaking to professionals that know what they're doing, it's not even a question, should you do it? You must do it.
Yep.
You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family to get the right information. And if you think you can do it all yourself, I challenge anyone that says that because I've got 4 or 5 professionals that help me. Mortgage broker, financial planner, all these people, Are you, because they're up to date. They're in today's market. Now, do I know a little bit about all these things? Of course. But I'm not in meetings like my head of finance is every day, every week, every month.
Yeah.
He's doing hundreds of loans
Yeah.
in today's market.
He knows
I'm
where
not.
to go and what to do.
Of course.